Good afternoon, everybody. So it is me, Coach B, and I just come to you today with a little bit of a salad that I'll be making today. So what I'm going to be doing is I've actually just taken everything from my garden, to be honest. And I'm not a great gardener. Frankly, I usually kill all my plants, but I have managed to actually keep these ones alive. So I pulled a beetroot from my garden. As you can see, it's still got the roots on it. I'm pretty proud of that one, actually. I've got some silver beet, which I'm going to be slicing up. I've got parsley from my garden, which is really great for salads. I've got a little bit of rosemary from my garden as well. It smells so good. Now, I'm going to be using tofu today, and I'm also going to be using some spices. So I've got here smoked paprika, cumin, and I'm also using a garlic powder because I'm going to be putting the tofu in a base. Okay, so like I'm making a little crumb on it. So I'll be using for that, I'll be using some oats and a little bit of an egg wash. So I'm going to, first of all, just cut up my tofu and prepare that. So I'm going to cut it into cubes today, just because I feel like cutting into cubes. And just makes it a little bit, make sure you measure the quantities that you need. I've got around about 125 grams or 150 grams of protein in that tofu. So I'm just going to, as I said, cut it into cubes, and I'm going to create my little whitewash. So I'm just going to crack one egg in here. Okay, I've got a whole egg. I'm just going to whisk that egg up. You only need one egg with a little bit of water. And that's just to make the wash, the egg wash. I'm then going to put some oats into my bowl. Now you can also ground these oats up, like so that they're actually more like a powder. I'm just going to put them in here because I feel like that. So I'm just going to put in here my spices as well. So I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of ground cumin. Ooh, it was a bit much. Throw it in. Maybe use a teaspoon. And I actually love cumin. I use it in so much of my cooking. I'm now putting in about a half teaspoon of smoked paprika. Now I also like chili. I like it quite spicy. So what I will use is I'll actually use a very hot sauce at the end just to put over. Now I'm going to use these granulated garlic powder, okay, because I actually really like garlic powder for this type of thing because the wet garlic will stick in the pan. Okay, and I have this very awesome sharp knife, so sharp knives are good. Okay, so I'm just going to put on about a teaspoon, or probably about 3/4 of a teaspoon. Actually, it's quite strong on this one. Okay, so I'm just going to mix that up. So mixing it all together so that those spices are all mixed into the oats. And now you can, of course, as I said, blend this all together, which, you know, could be a good idea if you just want to make it easy to stick to the tofu. So I'm going to pop the tofu now into my egg wash. I like to make things really quick because often I don't have a lot of time. So I'm just going to drain it and pop it straight into that oats mixture. I say all for dinner, but usually I'll be having my main meal at lunchtime. I'll usually have my some sort of herby shake or smoothie bowl. It depends what my goals are at that time. Okay, so all right, so that's all in there, and I'm just going to mix all that up, and I'm going to pop that into the fridge to let it marinate, cure, but also to help the oats just stick onto the tofu. Flies at summertime here, and that'll just help everything stick a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to pop that in the fridge for a couple of minutes. Okay, so while that's in the fridge, just sort of curing, I'm going to prepare my salad. So I'm going to chop my beetroot, like so. It is so beautiful. Like, you can really just smell the dirt, actually. Make sure you wash it because it's literally just come out of the garden. I am I could grate it, but I'm actually just going to slice it up, partially because I don't want to grate it and get beetroot juice all over my shirt, because when you grate, it can spit back at you. So, and there's beautiful redness everywhere already. So I'm going to slice it quite thinly. And this is where you really want to have a good sharp knife, because you do not want to be chopping those little fingers. So as you can see, I'll just move that silver beet. I'm just slicing this up, and really, I mean, like, there's never anything better than pulling those veggies out of the garden. But the reality is that organic, not organic, straight from the garden, it doesn't really matter unless it's got the right nutrients in the soil to start with. So you can spend all the money you like on organic food, but unless you know exactly where it's come from and the amount of nutrients in the soil, you know, it is what it is. So what we're going to do is I'm preparing that. I'm going to put it in a bowl, and I'm going to chop up the rest of those vegetables. So what I've got here is my fresh silver beet. So I am just going to cut these, like, the stalks off. I don't like the stalk too much. It's very, it's bitter actually. So I just fold the leaves in half, and I just cut along there and just cut that off. So I'm going to again finely slice this so that it's actually really easy to consume. So just like shredded almost. And of course you can use spinach if you have spinach, which is actually also just great. One of the things I really love about parsley though is parsley is very good for your heart, it's good for your blood. And all the green, like what I've got here, of course, is green and red vegetables. So that's really what we want to be having, a good mixture of different colors for your phytonutrients. Okay, so that's all cut up. Now I'm going to chop up a whole big bunch of my beautiful parsley, which my lovely little son picked for me. And he just kept on picking it. And I was like, okay, then we can stop now. Okay, so I'm just going to get a good handful. Again, I'm going to slice that up, or sort of shred it up with that knife. Okay, making sure your fingers are not in the way. Now, I really like to use quite a lot of flavoring because tofu can be very bland. So I do like that. So I've actually got a good handful there of spinach. Now, I love rosemary, so I'm going to use some rosemary too. So I'm just going to take a few pieces from the ends. I'm going to chop that up real fine. And you don't need a lot of rosemary. That's probably enough there. Okay. And I'll put that on this side. I don't like big chunks of it, so I like to really get it really fine. You can use dried rosemary as well if you so wish. And to be honest, just use what you like. You know, if you don't like rosemary, you don't like chili, it's okay. You can use something else. Okay, popping that into that green mix there. I've also got a little bit of beetroot leaves. Now you can eat beetroot leaves. They are perfectly fine for consumption. Yeah, so as I was saying, I've got these beetroot leaves. They're so beautiful. And there's no reason to waste beetroot leaves because you can consume these. They're safe to eat. The one leaf that's really not safe to eat is rhubarb. So if you have rhubarb in your garden, do not eat the leaves. Do not give them to animals. Do not give them to anybody because they are poisonous. The rhubarb leaves are poisonous, but beetroot leaves, no problem. So again, just doing that really finely. And finely is easier to eat too. You don't need to use your knife to cut it up because it's all done. So the preparation's really, really simple for this salad. Okay, and we've got these beautiful greens and reds. It's just going to be so delicious. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go and cook those tofus. Okay, so let's go over there and do that. Okay, so what I've got here is I'm just heating my pan up and I'm going to heat it up to relatively hot temperature. So I'm using, I prefer to use a spray oil, but I have run out of that. So I'm just using rapeseed oil and it's called the good oil actually. So I'm just going to pop a bit in here, no more than kind of a teaspoon. Okay, so you're starting to hear the pan sizzle now. I'm going to put these in, I'm going to use my spoon. I'm just going to pop those into the pan. So I'm going to try to drop off as much of the excessive crust as necessary as possible, because I really don't want that cooking and burning in my pan. You might hear that beautiful sizzling. It's nice. Okay. I'll be cooking up about 125 grams of tofu for me for lunch. Lovely. Okay. I can smell the spices cooking off. And tofu doesn't take very long either to actually cook, so it's really good. So I'm just going to let that brown and cook through. It usually takes about 5 to 8 minutes for this to cook. Alright. So again, you don't need a lot of oil in the pan. As long as you've got a bit of a non-stick pan, you can pop in about a teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons of oil. So I'll show you what this beautiful tofu is looking like now. So lovely. So as you can see, that tofu is just looking fantastic. It's browning off beautifully. Oh, looking lovely. So I do have a gas cooker, so you can really monitor the heat more easily. Okay, so now we're to plating up. So what I've got here is I put my beautiful greens onto my dish, as you can see here. I'm now going to plate up my tofu. I'm going to pop that on top as, gorgeously as possible, including all my browned, beautiful, oh, that smells so good. Okay, now I've got my beetroot, and this is all raw too, by the way. Okay, now what I'm going to use is I've actually got a homemade chutney. This is quite spicy. It's got a beautiful vinegary flavor to it. It's got very little, almost no sugar, in fact, no sugar. I'm going to pop that on, and I do have a very hot sauce. I like hot sauce, so I'm going to do a small drizzle of this, and spices such as curry and chili actually help increase your metabolism. So I hope you've enjoyed my dish today, and I will show you a photo of it, and bon appetit.